lovely Scrambler. What an absolute beauty. Thank you very much to our riders. Thank you. Fantastic job. What an amazing lineup that we have over here. Now, just before we started, you already watched about a 15-minute video detailing the heart and the passion of Scrambler. So basically, Scrambler, in a nutshell, isn't just a bike, isn't just another motorbike. It is the passion behind it. From the video that we saw, the land of joy created by Ducati, because the star here is really not the bike. It's not about the performance, but it is about the rider, their passion, and what brings them joy. And Ducati has successfully encapsulated that essence of joy and put it into designing each of this bike. Whether music brings you joy, photography, movies, books, going to cafe, having coffee, chilling, we capture that emotion and put it into each and every one of the design that we see before here. And one interesting thing to note, if you see that beautiful lady in blonde hair and red jacket, she is the Deputy Ambassador of the Republic of Italy. Say hi, Silva Marara. Just stand up for everybody to see that beautiful lady. She rides a Scrambler. If you really want to know how it feels, you can ask her as well. And what I like is that more and more females are riding a Scrambler. In fact, just now on stage, one of the ladies was supposed to join us on stage, and she actually rides the desert sled. So let's talk about the Scrambler, right? Earlier on, we heard a little bit of history about the Scrambler. It was a brand that was born in 2015. Yeah, and subsequently every year, we saw about, on average, 2 new models that was born. So safe to say that the community has grown tremendously these 4 years. 55,250 Scrambleristas. Basically, this is the amount of Scramblers sold as of August last year. So, as we're standing right here in June 2019, that figure will be very much higher. And it's so easy to see why, because the Scrambler range is a very good looking bike. It's easy to handle, it's got classic looks, it's fun, it's easy to handle, it's got a do-it-all attitude, and it suits the varied personality that we have over here. Now, even though the brand was born in 2015, but the first Scrambler, a little bit of story for you, yeah, from my friend Stefano. I got all my stories from him. Now, the brand was born in 2015, but the bike, the first Scrambler, was born in 1962. It was actually commissioned by a Californian importer. He said he wanted a bike. He wanted to sell a bike that would suit the Californian lifestyle. You know, you ride to the beach, you go to the cafe, free-spirited, easygoing, very relaxed. You don't need, you know, a very aggressive looking bike. So something that would suit that kind of vibe, the Californian vibe and feeling back in the 60s. And hence, the Scrambler was born as a model of a bike. The first Scrambler was created. It was hugely successful. Up until the 70s, that's when it ceased to be produced. But in 2014, Ducati thought, let's bring the Scrambler back again. And hence, the brand was reborn. And perhaps, here in 2019, this is the most important revision because it brings with it the essence, the flavor, the passion of the 60s, but put into the modern times. So let's start with the iconic model. The first model to join the Scrambler family, we call it Icon. Yeah, so this, remember the vibe of the Californian beach, you go surfing. So we encapsulate this and put it in a very easy to ride bike, but with all of the latest technology. Every bike that you see in the 2019 lineup has cornering ABS. And this just goes to show the importance of safety that Ducati places in all of its bike. It also has modern features. You've got a new dashboard with your gear and fuel indicators. Some of you might be thinking, huh? Fuel indicator, all of your cars have it, right? But it is this kind of creature comfort, this little kind of feature that really makes a difference, that we should never take for granted. You also got your new LED headlights with DRL lights. Most of our bikes that you see on the 2019 lineup has all of these features, hydraulic clutch for easy maneuvering as well. In terms of its look, it has been revamped to give you a more muscular, more premium look to it. And comfort, you've got brand new seats over here. It's wider, it's firmer, it's flatter, it's sturdier to give you basically more comfort when you ride it. Your suspension has also been revised to absorb any lumps, bumps, potholes, perfect for a Malaysian road, this one. So this is the Icon, but as you know, Scrambler is not just one, it's 4 in the entire family. Now, for those of you who have many brothers and sisters, siblings in your family, there is one who is the rebel. Am I right? In my family, I'm the rebel. And in this family, the Café racer is the rebel. Now, he was born back in the 60s, back in UK, where they would modify their bikes. It could be entry-level bikes, but they would modify it and they would race with all their kawan-kawan, their friends. They race from one cafe to another cafe, and the last one have to pay. So that was a movement back then, the Café racer, and we have encapsulated that movement into the Café racer that you see before you. This is inspired by the Ducati 125 GP Desmo. So you see the silver ice matte graphics together with the blue frame, a very iconic look, and together with the 70-inch front and rear wheel. And you see this rear view mirror? If you compare with all of the siblings, this rear view mirror is the most different, right? Because it's at the end of the handlebar. So all of these features put together, you have a very cool 60s vibe of a racing bike. And that is what it encapsulates, the 60s spirit. And of course, if you're going to be racing from one cafe to another, you've got to have good brakes too, and it comes with your radial front brake pump. Basically what this gives you is great braking power on par with a sport bike. And number 54, anybody can tell me what that number 54 refers to? Which racer? Anybody? You get a brand new Scrambler keychain if you get it right. Anybody? What's that? Mussolini? Well, it was an Italian Grand Prix road racer of the 60s by the name of Bruno Spaggiari. Bruno Spaggiari, anybody got that right?
No.
No? Okay, sorry, I was going to give you one. But so that is to pay homage to the 60s rider, Bruno Spaggiari. And moving on next, so you've got the rebel in the family, and now you've got the tallest in the family. Definitely not me in my family, I'm the smallest one. So, in this family, the Desert Sled is the tallest. It's got great off-road capabilities for those of you who like to travel with the road less traveled. This bike is for you. Great off-road capabilities, 200 mm of wheel travel. You've got off-road mode as well, where you can disengage your ABS, have more down in the dirt kind of fun. You've got new suspension as well for you to go off-road, different kind of terrains. And what I like is that it's got a very macho kind of look. Do you see the X-shaped wire front headlights grille? It gives it a very rugged kind of look. And coupled with your high mud guard, specially designed just for this model. And right underneath over here, I don't want to bend so low, but later you come and bend. Underneath you can see the engine skid plate that basically protects the body of the engine from all the rocks and stones that's going to hit on it when you go off-road. So this bike is an amazing bike for those of you who love to go off-road. And finally, we have the Full Throttle. Now this was inspired by a livery used by a racer as well. Anybody can tell me which racer it was? Anybody? No? Anybody here supports the American Super Hooligan Championship? Okay, I guess not. Okay, back to work for me, because if you know, then I don't have to talk about this bike. But basically this was inspired by Flat Track Super Hooligan. Ridden out by Didi. Now Didi is one of the 5 DRE instructors in Malaysia. Now basically DRE, they come up with a lot of different kind of programs in terms of track racing, you've got safety, and this year also you've got the bike travel that you like to focus on. Perhaps you can tell us just a little bit about it.
Okay. Ciao. Assalamualaikum and good evening everybody. Okay, DRE, as we know as Ducati Riding Experience, programs designed to enhance the exciting riding experience and also safe riding experience for Ducati owners out there. We have the DRE safety, which emphasizes on the safety riding element. all the way to DRE track days for the Panigales, and also bike travel. We would like to activate the riding experience, the correct and fun riding experience for Ducati riders out there. So stay tuned for more DRE programs with the new 2019 lineups.
Very well said. Thank you very much, Didi. Of course, if you want to find out more about the DRE programs, you can speak to Didi. He's going to be around here. But what an absolute beauty that we see before us, the Multistrada 1260. Well, this is basically Ducati's version of a travel enduro. For 2019, it added more displacement, it added more technology, and it gave it more rider-oriented features to make this big adventure bike more capable, more comfortable in any road conditions. So earlier on we saw a little bit about the video. It does have off-road capabilities. It brings with it a lot of the Multistrada lines to it. It's big, it's bulky, but it's tapered at the back. Up front it's got the very sharp beak. If you take a look up front, this kind of reminds you of a Angry Bird look, am I right? Like it's got a nose beak and then it's got an upswept LED lights now with cornering lights. Now this is very important, especially when you're traveling long haul with the cornering lights, because it doesn't just shine at where you're pointing, but it shines at where you're going. So this is very important in terms of safety, and many elements in terms of comfort and safety have been added to this bike because we want a very comfortable, safe ride when you go for your long travels. So it does have the usual cues. It's got a massive fuel tank, a lot of mass at the back, and tapers very slim at the back. It's got all the latest electronics. It's powered by a very powerful DVT engine that we're going to dive in right now. Now this is powered by a 1262 Tesla Strata DVT engine. What does it mean? Well, basically, I just love graph, you know, because it can confuse us sometimes. So basically it shows between the current 1260 Enduro and the predecessor. Red line is the current predecessor, the 1200 Enduro is blue line. So basically you see where it meets, that is the torque. Both of it have the same peak torque at 7,500 RPM, but what's the difference? Is that this guy over here has more torque throughout the entire rev rate. In fact, 85% of torque is available below 3,500 RPM, and I'll tell you why that's important. You know, the Multistrada was the first bike in the entire Ducati range that was capable to link up the Ducati Link app. And via the Ducati Link app, Ducati found out that most of its riders would ride between 3,000 to 5,000 rev rate. So this was the most common RPM while riding, and that is why Ducati thought, okay, let's give you more power, more torque when you need it the most. Hence, this is the chart that you see, and you see that deep at 5,500 RPM that the previous model has. Well, this bike managed to overcome it. So it's got more torque delivery when you need it and throughout the entire rev range as well. So in terms of power, it's amazing. It's also got shorter gear ratio, and this is to accommodate for better handling, whether you're going off-road, that's easier to handle, or if you're riding in the city, it's going to be more relaxing for you. That translates to better riding pleasure. It's got all of the latest technology. It comes with Ducati Quick Shifter. For all the Ducati fans, you know what's a Ducati Quick Shifter, right? It basically allows for clutchless gear shift. So basically, again, riding pleasure. Yeah, a lot of our models have DQS, but with all this great power, doesn't mean you need to service it more often. In fact, it has a relatively long service interval. Your usual maintenance at 15,000 km, your valve clearance checkup, your dashboard service at 30,000 km, so you can travel long haul without any worry. Worry-free travels, that is what we want to do for you. So we have refined the ergonomics. You find that the handlebar is lower by 30 mm. You also find your seat height reduced by 10 mm. And if it's still too high, we've got an option for you. Later on, I'll share the accessory pack. You've got higher and lower seats. You've got your suspension travel that is lower. Or basically, it just translates to better handling for you. Now, latest electronics comes with this bad boy over here, okay? You got your 6-axis IMU, basically opens up a world of electronics to keep you safe, to give you top comfort, including your Ducati Skyhook suspension. What is this DSS? I'm going to talk about DSS a lot in all of the bikes. Basically what this does is, it ensures that your suspension is exactly how you want it, no matter the riding conditions. So what it means is, it continuously adjusts your fork and your shock absorber damping, so that your suspension can continuously adjust the road condition. Basically, it works to give you better handling when you're going at all sorts of different road conditions. Yeah, it can absorb all of the different type of bumps and humps that you're going to go through at the different terrains. How did it get its name? It's quite unique, isn't it? Skyhook suspension. So just imagine this feeling when you're riding down your bike and then your bike is suddenly suspended with a hook hanging in the sky, and you are very balanced, very stable, and very reactive to any movement. And that is how it got its name. It keeps you very balanced seamlessly. And that is the Ducati Skyhook suspension. Not only that, if you're going to travel long distance, you've got to have good wheels. And this time around, it's got new tires in collaboration with Pirelli. Ducati says that these wheels last longer and it works even better off-road. You can also opt for the Pirelli Scorpion Rally tires, which is better grip, especially if you're going off-road. It's also lighter, and of course brakes. You need good tires, you need good brakes. Am I right? If you're going on different road terrains, we give you top-notch in terms of your Brembo brakes, front and back, but now it's incorporated into your Bosch Conray ABS, so better brake feel as well as better brake performance. It has all the latest electronics. Later when you come on stage, you can see your 5-inch TFT display over here that you can access all of your bike parameters. It's a very smart bike where it has all of the latest electronics you can control via this display over here. You can control your load configuration, whether you're riding solo or with passenger or with luggage or with both. You can control your suspensions, your ABS, your Ducati wheelie control, your Ducati traction control. 8 levels adjustable. All of this is applicable via your TFT color screen. And as always, you've got accessories to basically make it more comfortable. Your Tominioni exhaust is to make it even more garang sounding. If you want to make a presence, you want people to know, you want it to be louder when you arrive, then change your exhaust. It also boosts the performance of the windscreen. You can adjust as well if you want it lower. What I would use is your tire pressure monitoring system, because I can tell you about the engine, the ergonomics, the design, but I can't for the life of me tell you when my tires are punctured. I can't. So this is one feature that I would definitely, most definitely get for people like me. Now, if you're too tall, you can have an option, 20 mm higher seats. If you're fun size like me, you can go for the smaller seats, or rather the shorter seats, yeah? So 20 mm higher, 20 mm lower, and that is part of your accessories. You can choose from 3 pre-pack accessories as well, whether you want touring to make it more comfortable when you're going long haul, you want urban for your day-to-day riding, and sports for more aggressive riding. So this is great comfort, great performance, it's user-friendly, it's versatile. Elements that you find throughout the entire range of Multistrada, even the smallest baby Multistrada, the 950. Let's meet the smallest in the family right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the Multistrada 950S. Can I have a round of applause? I hope all the silence was because you're shocked in awe of its beauty. Well, basically, you find a lot of similarities between these two. It basically is the Multistrada brought in a smaller displacement in a way that is more accessible and more versatile, more compact, but yet it still carries the DNA of the Ducati. Style, sophistication, and performance. It's got amazing performance, it's more versatile, but in a more compact manner. Meet the entire family of the Multistrada. You'll notice that the 950S carries a lot of visual cues from the 1260 and the 1260 Enduro. It's a very important part of the family. I'll tell you why. Because more and more of us who want a versatile bike that we could ride to work every day in urban streets, in the urban jungle, and on weekends we want to travel. So there are more and more kind of customers like this, which makes this a very important segment for Ducati to perform. We've got the urban travelers and the weekend warriors, that's what I would call it. So in terms of overall design and feel, it basically is a 1260 Multistrada brought in a more compact package, perfect for those who find that the 1260 is a little bit too intimidating for day-to-day ride, and you want something more fun and more agile, but yet it does have touring capabilities as well. So this is your perfect option for it. Now, if you're going to bring this bike for long travels, you're going to need all these features. Yeah, you've got roomier panniers, you've got your adjustable windscreen, just like the 1260. Now, let me tell you, borrowing from the 1260 is the front cues. Yeah, the front look of it, the windscreen. The 1260 Enduro, the back part of it. You see a lot of similarities in terms of its seat, its passenger handles, its tires, its brake, its swing arm. Many visual cues that would be perfect if you're going for your traveling and your adventure. That is why it's an adventure bike. Now, as mentioned earlier on, it's got the side panels kind of like the 1260, and this is great because it gives you more aerodynamics and better protection against the air pressure as well, with the widened and expanded fairings at the side. You've got new mufflers as well, you've got new rim design that is also lightweight, and you can also incorporate the rally tires for more off-road capabilities. Now, it may be the smaller sibling of the 1260 Enduro, but it does have great power. Now, this engine, the Tesla Strata 11 degrees engine, basically is a marriage of competitive performance and ease of handling that translates to, well, it translates to a whopping 113 horsepower. It gives you great torque from mid-range, and that is when you need it the most, at mid-range. And so this is really a powerful engine. It's very responsive as well, and it comes fully loaded with all of the electronics that you'll find at the bigger sibling as well. You've got your TFT color display where you can adjust all of your electronics in terms of comfort and safety. These two are the main criteria when designing the Multistrada. Whether it's the 950S, whether it's the 1260 Enduro, comfort and safety. And that is why you have these elements like your cornering ABS, but now it's with the combined braking system. So your braking power front and rear is more balanced. You've got your vehicle hold control when you are starting your bike on a hill, even with passengers and with luggage on board. It's very steady and it's so intuitive. You've got more than 400 different types of settings to suit even the most discerning type of customers. It's so versatile. You've got your cornering lights just like this big guy over here. You've got your DSS, like I mentioned, this one also has. It's got your HMI, your human machine interface that you can access in your 5-inch TFT display, and you can adjust all of your parameters, your suspension, your ABS, your wheelie control, all of the electronics that you find here, you find over there, including your DQS that comes standard with the 950S. So basically, this bike is perfect for those who love the Multistrada, but a little bit intimidated of the size, but you also want to travel, you want it to be agile and fun for everyday riding, you want some off-road capabilities, and you also want to amp it up a little bit if you want to choose a sportier version. We've got a sport pack for you, urban pack, we've got a touring pack to suit your varied needs. So ladies and gentlemen, in total, this is the Multistrada family for the 2019 lineup. We've got the 1260 Enduro in this beautiful sand shade. It's not just a sand color, by the way, it is also the texture. Later when you see it, it's not glossy. I'm not sure whether you can see from over there, but when you come up, make sure you touch this. And what's great about it as well is because of its texture and its slim seat, you're able to stand on it better, especially when you go off-road. You can stand on it, you can use your legs to grab hold of it with that kind of texture. You can go off-road, you can do your long travels with this. So ladies and gentlemen, let's see what adventure is all about with Ducati. Thank you. What about that, ladies and gentlemen? Now, the Hypermotard basically is a bike that begs you to play with it. It was born to do wheelies, to jump, to slide, to slay corners. With that being said, since there's so many of you who are taking videos, I'm not saying you should do wheelies on the road, okay? All on the track, because safety is of utmost priority. But basically, this is possibly the most fun you can have on two wheels on the road. Now, since it was first introduced in 2008, it has been a very exhilarating, a wild journey for Ducati, because this bike is a combination of fun, of performance and design. Now, of course, for 2019, we have seen revision in terms of its ergonomics, in terms of its design, but it's still a proper hooligan, yeah, for the inner hooligan and all of us. So it brings with it many of the Motard inspired look. Now, this was inspired by Super Motard. You know the Super Motard race, right? On 3 different types of road surfaces. So it's like very commanding, it's high up. The handlebar is very high up, and that's where you can do lots of stunts and tricks on the bike. So it carries with it a lot of characteristics, a Motard design. So it's got more of a lean angle, it's got wider handlebar as well as it's got a more commanding feel. And on top of that, you also got a very flat seat. Now this is a 950, so you've got a little bulge at the back as well for the passenger for more comfort. But for the SP version, the 950 SP, it's flatter. So basically Motard style, true to the Motard characteristic, is flat. And this is to facilitate you to ride front and back when you're doing your tricks in the Motard, right? Because you're going to have fun with the Motard. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. If you take a look at the front end, you've got that beak-like as well that you find on the Hypermotard together with the DRL light. So basically it's got a very modern, technological look to it. And you see the return of the underseat silencers. And this was basically available in the first original Hypermotard and now brought back to the 950 version that we see before us. Now, in terms of engine, it does use the same Testastretta 11 degrees engine as the previous Hypermotard 939, but Ducati worked some engine magic on it, and it's got now 4 horsepower higher. So basically, it's more powerful, the engine is even lighter by 1.5 kilos, and you've got more torque available at mid-range. So it's got a more powerful bike. Ergonomics, handling has been improved as well. It's slimmer, it's lighter. It went on a diet, came back 4 kgs lighter. In part also due to the slimmer fuel tank. Last time was 16 liters, now it's 14.5 liters. So that is contributing to the lightweight as well. Later I'll share with you more elements about it. But one important feature, especially if you're doing tricks on it, you see this innermost part? Your inner leg circle. This has been reduced up to 53 mm. So what this means is, it's more comfortable for your leg. You can ride up front. You can swing your back tires behind, and that is the proper way for you to ride a Hypermotard, to go wild, to go crazy. So with this 53 mm smaller inner leg circle, you get more comfort as well. You've got a completely new frame that is also lighter. You've got smart use of aluminium all around that contributed to that 4 kg of weight loss. Now the seat height maintains the same, 870 mm, but with that slimmer inner leg circle, you're able to put your leg easier on the ground, especially for short people like me. Of course, your fuel tank is also slimmer. In terms of brakes and suspensions, you have top notch. Everything is lightweight now, your new frame, your new subframe. So basically, this is a renewed model. Yep, not just a little tweak here and there. Everything is new. And in terms of the electronics as well, you've got your Ducati quick shifter as an accessory for the 950 variant, but for the 950 SP, it comes as standard. You've got all of the electronics thanks to your 6-axis Bosch IMU system, similar to the other ranges that we saw in the Ducati 2019 lineup. You've got 3 different riding modes that you can choose from, and on the chart, you basically see the different ride modes and the different electronic interference or intervention for each in terms of your Ducati traction control, your Ducati wheelie control, your ABS as well. And you've got a beautiful 4.3-inch TFT color display, and this is inspired by the Panigale V4. Now, what is the main difference? Well, almost everything really. Besides the trellis frame, and even that also a little bit tukar for the lightweight, everything else really changed, giving you a brand new model that you see compared to the predecessor. So it's lighter, it's easier to handle, it's slimmer, and even though the height is maintained, you basically can put your feet down, you can do more tricks, have more fun with the bike. Now, as always, accessories are available. If you want it to be sportier, you've got a range of accessories. I would always offer the Tomignoni exhaust because it boosts your performance and it's so loud. It makes your presence shown. So a lot of our range does have the Tomignoni exhaust. I would say get it because it sounds so cool. So ladies and gentlemen, again, this bike is a proper hooligan bike. It's meant to evoke all of the fun elements that you want to do with it. You know, whether you want to do a wheelie, you want to slide around with it. Again, if you're not having fun with this bike, you're not doing it right. So ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at pure, endless fun and adrenaline. Ladies and gentlemen, the Diavel 1260S. There we go. Honestly, this is also my favorite. It's absolutely so good to be back, right? Now, let me tell you a little bit story about this guy. Now, and this is a story also I got from Stefano over there, yeah? So correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, when the Ducati team got the brief to design a mega monster, they decided, okay, we need a bike that is powerful, like a super bike. We wanted something that is also muscular. We wanted something that was really, really unique. So when finally the prototype came about and they showed the team in Bologna, or basically one of them said in Bolognese, now I don't know how to speak Bolognese, but basically he said, Diavel. So basically he said, this mean machine looks like the devil. So Diavel in Bolognese means devil, and that was how the Diavel got its name. So now fast forward to 2019, basically the Ducati team wanted to create something special, something unique. And so it took a little bit of elements from the superbike, it took a little bit of the ergonomics from the cruiser, as well as the performance of a Sport Naked, and put it into one unique machine like we've never seen before. So basically, it's a 3-in-1 bike. Ducati cherry-picked from the lightest and most crucial elements from each of it. From the superbike, you've noticed the side and the belly fairing as well. Now from the cruiser, well, it took the front to rear frame lines as well as the lower seats, so you've got easier handling. And from the Sport Naked, you might notice the exposed engine, exposed frame. You've got a big fuel tank and tapered down to a very slim exterior. So it borrowed all these visual cues from the 3 different class models, and it went back to the drawing blocks in terms of this. One thing that didn't change was the aggressiveness and the competitiveness, the confidence, as though there was a sprinter at the starting blocks ready to pounce. Where did it get its inspiration? Well, basically the designers drew its inspiration from muscle cars, superhero, latest high-tech technology. They wanted to create something that even superheroes would want to ride on, and this is what they got. Anymore, if looking bad is this good looking. Being bad is so good, and let me tell you why it's so good. Number one, from the front end, you've got a very visibly different lights, right? You've got full LED front and back, and perhaps one of the most distinctive feature is your turn indicators and the radiator shroud that gives it sort of a 3D effect. Now this is up front. On the rear, you notice your massive tires. I think no other production bike out there has these tires because Pirelli designed it specifically for the Diavel. Now it's got a massive 240mm rear tires with 17-inch wheels, or rather rims. So that means it's 10 inches of rubber. That is extremely massive, and that of course contributes to a very commanding and strong presence that it has. But yet, it has this new feature. It's got a retractable handle. So when you unlock and lift the seat, you can retract the passenger handle as well for more comfort. So for the guys here, if you need to convince your wife, that is one feature you must tell her. Sayang, it's going to be very comfortable and safe. You've got this handle that you can take out. Even the seats is also more plush right now. Now if you take a look at the red part, that is what's new about the bike. So almost everything is new. The frame, the subframe, the swing arm, the tires, the fuel tank, everything has been revived for the 2019 variant. Ergonomics has been improved as well. So it's a 3-in-1 bike. It's got the low seats, it's got a central pack, it's got a high handlebar, and it gives you a rather neutral riding position. So it's not as aggressive as a Monster 1200, but it's not as relaxed and stretched out as Diavel. So it's a bike that is 3-in-1. You can go for your long travels, you can ride it day to day. It's a very, very versatile bike. Now, of course, the seats. Now, this is another thing you got to tell your other half as well if you want to buy this bike. The seats are more comfortable right now, both for the rider and the passenger. But except for the part where it meets the fuel tank, now that is still slim, so for better comfort for your legs. But other than that, the seats are now wider and more plush. In terms of handling, it's got amazing handling. I must say Ducati has done a phenomenal job in making handling so easy on such a big and heavy bike like this. You won't feel the weight, you feel it's light and very agile, especially at corners as well. And it basically has a new frame. It's got new everything to add to the handling and the ergonomics to make it easier to ride. Now the Diavel has a new heart. Now it beats on the 1262 Nasarudin DVT engine that we saw also in the Hypermotard 1260. But basically, if you can see on the charts over here, comparing the dotted lines. Now the dotted lines is a Diavel, and this is the Diavel 1260, which is the full line. You can see that torque and power has increased compared to his predecessor. Now what does this mean? So thanks to the DVT engine, you get torquey performance from low RPM, you've got great sporty performance at high RPM. And also with this tweak in the engine, it gives you a massive 159 horsepower. So it's a very powerful bike, the Diavel. And I would expect nothing less, because it's the Diavel, isn't it? But the Diavel also needs good electronics, right? And so it comes fully suited with all the latest technology that you find in Ducati for the 2019 lineup. As we've seen earlier on as well, you've got a Ducati wheelie control, Ducati traction control, and all of this is accessible via your TFT color display that you have over here, 3.5 inches, right in front, easy to access, and you've got this backlit controls on your left-hand side of the handlebar for you to access all of your bike functions via the TFT color display. So it's very beautiful. And right on top over here, now you've got two screens basically on your instrument panel. So you've got one above your handlebar and one below your handlebar, giving it a very distinctive look. So I would say the devil is in the details, and this is a very detailed bike. It gives you basically the best of everything. You have the Erlin suspension. I would say Olins, but because some people here pronounce Erlins, am I right, Mr. Cheraki? I hope I got my pronunciation right. Erlin suspension. You've got the very best of your Brembo M50 brakes as well. So this is a powerful bike with the latest components to make riding in whatever situation, in whatever riding mode, truly like heaven, although it's like a devil, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier on, the devil is in the details, and this bike, it seems improvement in all areas. Yeah, in terms of its weight, its seat height, everything has been taken into account to give you basically a balance of comfort as well as performance. And on top of that, as always, we've got a whole bunch of accessories that you can choose from to make it even more comfortable to suit your different riding modes. Whether you want to go on your long travels, and then you can choose the touring pack, you want a sport pack for even sportier performance, whether you want an urban pack for day-to-day riding. This bike has it all. 3-in-1. Well, basically this bike bags you to ride it hard, to ride it fast. It's so good to be bad, and we've explained why it's so good to be bad. It's not a sport bike, but you can most certainly hang out with all your sport bike buddies. It's not a touring bike, but you can most certainly bring it on your travel, and it's so ergonomic and easy to handle. Ducati did a phenomenal job in terms of its handling, and it's not a cruiser, but you can hang out with your cruiser friends on bike nights. The only difference is, if they want to ramp up the speed, you're definitely going to drop them. Whether you're on a straight road, you're on a corner, this bike is fast and is powerful. What they call a race bike, but homologated for road use. It is essentially a racing bike that is street legal. Alright, is your heart beating fast enough? Am I right? Just by looking at that video, wait till you see it in person, it's just in just a bit. Now basically, as I mentioned earlier on, this bike is a racing bike that is street legal. It is homologated for street use, and it forms the technical foundation of the Ducati Superbike that is currently racing in the World SBK, the World Superbike Championship. And by the way, do you know who's leading the score charts in World SBK?
Alvaro Bautista.
Who? Bautista? That's right, I just googled 300 points. He's number one, he's of course riding a Ducati. By the way, just a little fun fact, 12 out of 15 races thus far for World SBK as of today is won by Ducati. I think that deserves a big round of applause. So essentially, you've got a racing bike that is street legal. Hence, it is the most powerful production bike ever by Ducati and ever on the streets right now. And we'll share with you why that is. Look at the horsepower, 221 horsepower with a weight of 193 kg. So that gives you a power to weight ratio of 1.14. But if you put in the racing kit, that includes the Akrapovic exhaust, what you get? A performance boost of 234 horsepower. You shed about 6.5 kgs along the way, and what you get, even better power to weight ratio of 1.25, and that is why it is the most powerful production bike ever. Now it runs on the DC Stradale R engine with a smaller displacement than the predecessor. Yeah, so previously it was the 1103cc, but to fit the regulations of World SBK, the ruling said it must be below 1000cc. So they had to reduce it to 998cc, but what it did is, again, engine magic, what it does is it increased the power, the horsepower to it. So looking at this chart, you can see that the power builds in a pretty linear way, and that is the white line over there. It's a pretty linear way up until about 8,500 RPM, and that is when 80% of your torque is already available. And that is when things really switch up a notch. Magic happens, it moves really, really fast. Now, in part of the improvement in the engine, now it's got smaller displacement but more power. How? Well, because it revised the engine. Yeah, you've got the same bore at 81 Nm like MotoGP, but they reduced the stroke to 48.4 mm, and this is to reduce the displacement to 998 cc, and this is thanks to your crankshaft that is lighter right now. And your crankshaft also lifts your lightweight titanium con rod. So all of these lightweight elements in your engine basically allows Ducati to amp up the power by including more rev. So just now we saw the maximum horsepower was at 15,250 RPM, right? That's impressive. That's a lot of rev. And this is higher than the predecessor by 2,500 RPM. Now it's a lot of big numbers that I'm throwing at you. I just want to show you that it's a very, very powerful bike. That's what you got to remember. Higher horsepower, even though it's a smaller displacement, because of all this revision in terms of its engine. And one of the biggest change for the Panigale V4 R that all Ducati fans would love is the inclusion of a dry clutch once again. Now why is dry clutch important? Not only because it improves your handling and your performance when you're taking corners at high speed or when you're turning, but Ducati fans really like the rattling sound, the iconic rattling sound of the dry clutch, which is the DNA of Ducati. And because it's a dry clutch, there's no liquid component, it's also lighter. Now, do we have any previous Panigale owners over here from the previous models? Anybody? Anybody who rides a Panigale over here? Because this dry clutch is retrofittable. So basically, you can take this and install it in your previous Panigale as well. So that is a new word that I learned, retrofittable. So as I mentioned earlier on, it has a boosted performance. Now at 221 horsepower, it's really very powerful, but you can boost it even further with your racing kit. 234 horsepower is a very, very powerful performance. Now it's a racing bike, so you've got great power, and it also has to be aerodynamic. So in terms of its aerodynamics, few things that the Ducati team considered. One is the nose fairing, the lateral fairing, the lateral vents that looks like gills, like the fish gills, and your wings. And perhaps that is the biggest change to the 2019 lineup. So talking about the gills, the air extractors. You know gills, like fish have gills, right? Basically that's how they breathe. Same with this bike. Basically these gills, these side extractors is more effective in letting the cool air come in to cool down your racing engine by letting the cool air come in more efficiently and faster into your water and oil radiators. You can see by 6 and 16% increment. So it cools down the engine more efficiently, as well as your nose fairing, your side fairing, or basically it expands your fairings, right? So you've got a nice pocket of still air, the little bubble of still air. So lesser resistance. Even your windscreen is now higher and more angled to protect your helmet, your shoulder, your arm area, to protect the rider and gives you more aerodynamics. But most importantly, in terms of the aero package, is the inclusion of wings. I believe that this is the only production bike on the road that you see that has wings at the side of the fairing. Why is this important? Well, this wing was inspired by the MotoGP version in 2016. Now, these wings basically increases the downforce of the bike. Now, I'm going to go technical, okay? So stay with me. If you don't understand, just pretend as though you understand, okay? And just look only, okay? So basically the downforce, it increases the downforce of the bike, which means it's more stable. Because when you're going at fast speed, the air pressure, the wind pressure is going to want to lift up the tires, am I right, of the front? So more tendency of floating or wheeling. So what this does is, it makes more air pressure, giving you more stability, ensuring that your wheels is on the tarmac, especially when you're going at very fast speed. You can see on the charts over here, it ranges from 50 all the way to 300, and that is your speed as opposed to the weight, the downforce that it gives you. So if you're going at 50 kilometers per hour, the downforce is 1 kg, all the way up to 300 kilometers per hour, which you probably will not enjoy on the highway, but probably on the track, you can feel the downforce, keeping you stable on the road. Now, a lot of revision has been done in terms of handling and ergonomics. This is truly a racing bike that you can see on the streets. I mean, this is the most powerful bike that you can even think of. And this is the maximum expression of Ducati's values in terms of style, performance, and sophistication. This is it. It's the maximum way that we can express it in terms of a bike. Now, apart from that, it also comes with the best of everything, yeah? You've got a new frame that is optimized for racing, and it comes with your Erlin's suspension as well. And your swing arm is adjustable to 4 different positions, and this is to suit your different riding styles and the different road conditions as well. So also better performance. You've got 3 different ride modes you can choose from, whether you want to race, you want sport, you want street, and basically the chart shows you the different electronic intervention. Yeah, you've got more intervention if you choose street, let's just say, more safe oriented. But if you have race, if you choose race, well, you've got a full maximum horsepower, lesser safety intervention by the electronics system. 2 new things in the V4R. Number 1, you've got a pit lane speed limiter that you can use when you go on track day. Number 2, you've got your GPS lap timer. So it tells you your best lap time, also your sector time. So if you do 2 laps, you can compare your performance in each sector as well. Yeah, also, so again, it's got a racing pedigree, a racing DNA about this road bike. Now the difference between the predecessor, again, you've got a more powerful engine, more horsepower, you've got a dry clutch as well, and these are just some of the differences that truly make the V4R truly unique. So ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up my little presentation about the V4R. I'm sure you're done listening already. It's time for us to feast our eyes on our main highlight of the day, the final inclusion to our 2019 lineup. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Panigale V4R. Ladies and gentlemen, the Panigale V4R! What a beauty and a beast all in one. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. What an iconic model. I know all of you are very silent right now because you're stunned by its sheer beauty, am I right? Yes? Alright, so now that we've walked through the entire range for the 2019 lineup, from the Scrambler to the Multistrada, we have the Hypermotard, a very fun bike. You've also got the Diavel, and now finally you've got the Panigale V4R. It suits the different types of riders that we have, covering the entire range that you'll see making up the 2019 lineup. So what say you, we bring on the whole family on stage for you to take a closer look. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Ducati 2019 lineup right here in Malaysia. ladies and gentlemen. From the Scrambler to the Multistrada for you to go on an adventure, to the Hypermotard for you to have unlimited amount of fun. We have the Diavel, that is a 3-in-1 bike, the Panigale V4 R, that is truly the maximum expression of the Ducati values. We have it all right here on stage.
Okay guys, so we just already witnessed all the launch of the 9 bikes. So this is will be the quick walk around of the bike. We'll just go out to the stage. So over here is the Multistrada 1260 Enduro version. So this is just a walk around. I'm not going into details of the bikes. So just a look of the. This is the Multistrada 950S. Alright, look at the TFT screen. And you can see comparable with the 1260 TFT screen. Yeah, you can see all the Brembo master cylinders. Cool, it's amazing. So look at the bike in front. So both bikes shares the same, almost similar design. So over here is the Hypermotard 950. So over on the rear bike, you can see it has the rear underseat exhaust. So this is the rear passenger, the rear frame that is raised up for the rear passenger, and the seat is mentioned to be flatter. Alright, so over here the Diavel 1260S. Awesome bike, really awesome, fantastic. So let's move over to the front here. Yeah, this bike seriously looks amazing. So look at the key fob of the Diavel. It's huge. And over here is the seat with the Diavel emblem here. Nice shroud. So we move over to the V4R. Panigale V4 R. Carbon fiber wings. Aluminium fuel tank. So moving along is the Scrambler variants. So over here we have the Desert Sled.
Alright, give me a sec, come on.
So you can see the Desert Sled has a lot of accessory and even raise up.
I know you can't wait.
So let's move over to the Café racer.
So
you can see all the Brembo master cylinders. Single seaters. Amazing. So over here is the full throttle version. Basically the full throttle has the flat track color inspired. And over here is the icon. Okay, so this is the walk around video on the bikes. Alright.